Hello and welcome to the final of episode 4 out of 4 in our leadership series. Hello and welcome back, Marc Inzelstein.
Neil, so good to be back with you again.
Thank you very much, back by popular demand. So you talk about hope as a leadership practice, and let's face it, this probably will be one of the most controversial and most contested parts when you talk to leaders, because most leaders tell you, look, we know employees are important, we know they have to be happy, but let's face it, hope is something which is out there or not. Some people are more optimistic, some people are more pessimistic. I don't think it's my job to give hope. Times are tough. The economy is in a dip, so we have to face reality. People find hope or they don't. How, as a leader, when times are tough, how can I even consider when, especially people who run the business and hire CEOs, say, make the business work, make the ends meet, make the numbers be where they should be? How can then someone come up and say, hope as a leadership practice?
So it's a great question. I think we have to remember first and foremost that organizations are populated by humans. And without a meaningful future, without a hope that something good can happen for you personally, you lose your engagement, you lose your motivation, and you will be disengaged.
Hmm.
So, a leader's first job is to provide hope because hope provides engagement provides and creates high levels of work. And today we know that it's in the US at least, the engagement level is around 30%, which
Yeah,
is very, very low. And
yeah,
actively disengaged is something around 16 or 17%. So,
yeah.
you have to provide hope to create engagement. And it's your job as a leader to know how to do that.
Mm. So when we talk about hope, does hope mean that you give people certainty for the future?
Great question. Absolutely not. I
Would be
think
great
if
if
you
you
give,
could, right? I mean, anyone likes to have certainty for the future in
yes,
today's times. Yeah.
yes, we would love it. It would be wonderful to have a crystal ball and say, well, this is going to happen and to have everyone be reassured. Well, no, we live in a world that's ambiguous. That's not going to change. It's just going to increase. So hope is not about manufacturing certainty. In fact, I think that's the wrong thing to do because people aren't going to believe you in the first place because it's not credible to say you can predict the future.
Yeah.
And secondly, when that certainly falls apart, you lose all credibility. No, I think hope is saying that we are recognizing the difficulty of the situation we're facing. We recognize the challenges; they are real. And at the same time, I, as your boss, as your leader, believe that we can muster together the resources, the optimism, and the collective teamwork to find a solution. So hope is a feeling that you provide, not certainty. It's a feeling that we actually can find a way to navigate the turbulence together and that we'll find something that's worthwhile. So that is hope. It's reality, but it's reality knowing there's a possibility of getting there.
Excellent. Now, of course, I have to address one question which many leaders ask me when I prepared for this episode. Many people ask me, many leaders ask me, am I able to win them all? So people often ask the question, look, I have the feeling some people are just incredibly negative, either due to their personality, due to their private circumstances, or due to bad experiences before. But some leaders have the feeling no matter what I do, there are some people who I will never win. Even if I try to give hope, they will deny to accept that. Would you agree with that, or do you think that you can convince anyone?
I think that over time you can definitely turn the tide. I think there's probably a small, take a bell curve, the extreme portion of the bell curve maybe will never be convinced. And you don't want those people in your organization anyway, honestly.
Yeah.
Ideally, you want people that do have some level of willingness to look
Hmm.
at possibility. But let me tell you a story. About 15 years ago, a friend of mine, now a friend at the time, a client, took over a very large professional services organization, over 100 years old, and brought out a dynamic, bold vision, announced a strategy, a change in culture. And many people, including many senior leaders, were dead set against it. They didn't believe a word of it. They didn't believe it would happen. And they were either vocal naysayers or silent dissenters, and they were significant. But this leader, because this leader projected hope, was someone that created tremendous purpose in the organization. Over time, the tide started to turn, and actually, some of the biggest naysayers, some of the biggest resistors, became the biggest proponents.
Hmm.
So I think when people actually move from, let me see, is this seems impossible? Oh, maybe it is possible. Oh, it's happening. Okay, I'm all for it now. So yes, the tide can turn, and I think you can turn people you can definitely turn the tide with people. Not everyone, but certainly a lot.
Yeah. And I have to add one question here because some people were very honest when I sent them the survey. Some people said in the personal comment section, they said, I think I'm not very good at that because it is not my personality to give people the pep talk. That's of course a bit colloquial. There's more explanation afterwards, but a couple of people said they really see the point. So these were the people who, by the way, were most supportive of your point here, said, I
Yeah.
see how this is important, but I think I'm not very good at it because of my personality as a leader. So then they described how they worked in controlling and they often were steering organization through crises, etc. So when you have people who are, I mean, that's a remarkable level of self-reflection for some people, but
Yes.
they are still stuck saying, I think I'm still not very good at that. So when people say I'm not very good at it and I don't know how to learn it, how can I learn it when people say it's not naturally my personality to give people hope?
Oh, it's such a great question. The first thing I would say is not a, it's the opposite of a pep talk. Because all of us need reality, we need authenticity. Hope can be a quiet conversation over a cup of coffee or a beer where the leader is actually sitting with someone and saying, tell me what's going on for you. Where are you struggling? Where are you struggling? What's going where are you looking to grow your career? What are the opportunities for you? Let me talk about what's really happening here and lay out be truthful about the organization and then say, you know what? I'm here for you as your leader to help you find a path to success. Be part of my team and help us find a path to success. Right. So we don't have all the answers, but by working together, by building trust, by being honest, that creates hope. Hope is not a pep talk.
Excellent. So when now people say, I think I should give them hope, I just don't know where to start. Is there something where you say, this is the hope 101 when people say, I actually never thought of that. I never considered it part of my job. So it's quite a big project, of course. Giving people hope is a massive task. So
Yes,
where to
yes.
start?
I think start by listening to people, Niels. Start by really hearing them. What is going on for that person? Recently a friend of mine who is a chief people officer in a big organization did something very unusual. She and her senior leaders of her team went around the organization and they just listened to what
Hmm.
was going on for people. And in small committees, and people opened up. There were tears, there was anxiety expressed. People were open because leadership is hard today.
Yeah.
When you start to listen and you're there and you really are giving an authentic ear to the reality of the person in front of you, that's the first step.
Mm.
Then, when people know that you're listening, you care, then you can say, well, let's talk about what might be possible in the future. I'm not saying everything's going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, but I'll be truthful with you and I'm going to help you get there. And we're in this together. That is where hope starts to ignite. So again, not a pep talk, it's a reality talk, and it's a point of connection between the mind and the heart.
Perfect. Two more questions here. When you say people can open up, does it mean that the leaders should open up first, or do you ask people to open up and you go second? Who do you think has to go first?
That's a really good question. Sometimes it's good for the leader to be a little bit vulnerable and to share, you know what, I've got to tell you, I had a health crisis last year. I was scared. I was under a lot of pressure. Thank God I'm through it now. But yeah, it's not every day is not easy for me. But my commitment is to show up with truth and courage to be there for you. Sometimes it's not necessary. Sometimes it's just, what they say is the quality of listening elicits the speaking in the other person. If you're
Hmm.
really listening, not just with your mind, but listening with your heart, the other person will actually open up in ways that may never have happened before. So it could be both ways, depending on the situation.
Perfect. And there's, of course, one last question which I have. People now listen to 4 episodes with you. We talked about leadership in the age of AI. We talked about why even brilliant executive teams can underperform. We talked about leadership hearts and we talked about hope as a leadership practice. By the way, if you just jumped into the 4th episode, listen to the other 3 as well, please. And of course, I now have to ask when people now say, hey, I think Mark can be really helpful for my organization as a trainer, speaker, coach, speak at our conference, or help us in any other way. My question, of course, has to be, how can people reach out to you?
They can just go to my website, which is essential-leadership.com, essential-leadership.com, and my contact information is there, Niels. And there's a link to my book as well for those that are interested in reading it. But thanks for asking the question.
Perfect. And of course, we have an additional interview online about the book, so don't miss out on that one because that is also a brilliant one. We see leadership is complex, but there is someone who can help you, and it's actually a skill that you can learn. So at the end of the interview, this podcast and videocast series, there's only one thing left for me to say. Mark, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Niels. Always such a pleasure. Appreciate it.